Welcome everyone to the Pantheon. I am Ray, and today we're looking at Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2. This takes place just a few months after the events of Season 1. Phil Coulson's resurrection has been resolved. We learn the secrets of that, at the cost of him becoming slightly mad. We learn that Skye has a significant past, and Raina, the woman with the floral dress, has a connection to that past, and we get to delve a little bit deeper. The season opens up with the team a little bit more expansive. The team is on the run with some new additions, including a character named Mac, who is kind of a quiet or reserved mechanic for the team. They're on missions around the world. They're also running a separate mission in parallel with each other. Jenna Simmons, the science and biologist or doctor, if you will, is on her own separate mission, secret mission with Hydra. And the series, in these 10 episodes, we learn that we're going deeper. We're going to go deeper down a rabbit hole that leads into a temple of more questions and more problems. But to unlock that, let's talk to my partner Evie, and let's discuss Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Hi, joining me now is Evie, and I have to give an apology to Evie because we're supposed to do this together. We did a couple takes, recordings of our review for S.H.I.E.L.D., Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and it didn't take. There was some sort of technical glitch, so I apologized and I asked him, you know what, you can join me to do the review for the audio portion of the podcast, which he will. So, back to do a solo edition review, and episodes 1 through 10, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It opens up with a flashback, 1945 Austria, where we have Agent Carter, Peggy Carter, played by Hayley Atwell. Our very first and only cameo appearance we have with a celebrity before we had Nick Fury and Maria Hill. Episode 1 also has Lucy Lawless as an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. too. She comes back later in the season. First episode, she's one of the agents who helps to obtain this obelisk, which is the 1084, an object of unknown origin. What happens is, with the fall of Red Skull, Peggy Carter and the Howling Commandos take over probably the last stronghold, as I think it is, of Hydra, led by Daniel Whitehall, a mad scientist. And they seal up this obelisk, which is the 1084, and what we think we're seeing is the Kree alien, which ends up being in the guest house called the GH, and he's number 325, and they use his serum to regenerate Coulson back to life. They also did several test subjects. What they didn't anticipate was that the last mission of this alien, wherever he was supposed to go, which was apparently this city on Earth, ends up being Puerto Rico. Anyways, all in his mind, his last thought was to go to this city to do something. Or I guess we don't know what the mission was, but the coordinates or the actual geographic design of this location of the city is his final thoughts. And as a result, those who had his DNA or blood also got his imprints of his final thoughts, which means they were obsessed in time to try and locate the city. And because it's an imprint and not an actual communication guide, it was driving the subjects insane, including Coulson. They ended up carving symbols onto walls. They had a compulsion to do so, to the point where they couldn't exist without doing this. It would actually make them go literally insane. So that's why they had to remove the memories of the host and give them new memories to help them overcompensate that that psychic imprint from the alien. And once they solved the mystery of where this thing is located, this city, the imprint or the hypnotic suggestion from the imprint is gone. They no longer have the urge because they've solved the mystery and they know where this thing is, and the desire to locate the city is now gone. And we learned that through the episodes we're watching from 1 to 10. Now, the importance of all of this is Raina, woman with the floral dress, and Skye. They have something very much in common. They are descendants of the Kree alien race. Skye's mother is part Kree and part human, and they were, or as they would call them, as Inhumans, and that's where that comes from, where they have genetic markers that are a Kree race. Now, it's also important to know that this is not the first time this has happened. If you look at Captain Marvel in the movie, she was exposed to energies of the Tesseract. They used the Kree's blood stream into her to help bond and solidify and stabilize her exposure to the cosmic radiation levels of the Tesseract, so she can handle it. Same thing with Skye and Coulson. The DNA and blood was able to help them overcome and regenerate and stabilize their body too. Now, because Daisy is also Kree, I keep thinking of the Kree Indians, but like Kree as the alien civilization, they're highly evolved, hence the word inhumans. And going to this temple will unlock their full potential, will evolve them to the next generation or evolution of who they truly are. And we find out in the last episode 10. And then from that point on, it becomes, oh, this is where we get Sky. This is where she becomes Quake. This is where she becomes Daisy. We find out who she is. Because the whole journey up until 1 through 10 is solving the mystery of why Coulson's going kind of mad and finding Daisy's father. Daisy's father is the one who leads them to this temple eventually, and that's where we get the father and daughter reunion of of Sky and her father. We learn her name is Daisy in episode 10 where he says her name, and that's kind of exciting too. So all these things happen here. Now the only other thing I have to mention too that's also important to pick up, it's a very small detail. I didn't even pick it up on the first watch until I watched this for the third time. This is the very first time Coulson mentions Project Theta Protocol. It's known to everybody in episode 19 as a lead-in to Age of Ultron, but this is the very first time he mentions that. Knowing that they're going into a temple that is Kree, we don't know what we're going into. He tells Billy and Sam, these are the twins, played by Patton Oswalt, who are the custodians of the playground. The playground is this hidden base that Nick Fury led for Coulson because he's now the new director. Providence was the first hidden base, but Fury, knowing how smart he is, he knew in case it was compromised, they have a planned Site B to go to, and the playground is the new hidden base for the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Anyways, Coulson tells Billy and Sam, the twins, who are the curators or the caretakers of this hidden site, if anything happens to him, enact Project Theta Protocol for whatever it is. We don't know what it is, but that's the only time he ever mentions it, and it's so brief that if you didn't catch it, I understand because I didn't catch it until I watched this a third time. So that's pretty exciting too because that gets mentioned again later on in the series leading up into Age of Ultron. So that's pretty much it. In terms of the overall experience of the show, of these first 10 episodes, it really is good because it's strictly a continuation of storyline. The televised broadcast is done by a network called WHIH, which equivalent is, in today's world, would be, I would say, CNN. They are the newscasters for Marvel, both in film as well as television. So if you watched Edward Norton's Incredible Hulk, there's a scene in the Culver City, the university. The news media is WHIH, where there's Jessica Jones, which we're reviewing in February. There's a scene where her and Kilgrave stop a couple, a father terrorizing his own wife and daughter by shotgun. There is coverage of the coverage of Iron Man, and the first one, Christina Everhart. You see her there interviewing Tony Stark, and that's when he reveals, "I am Iron Man." So they are located both TV and film, and they are the CNN of Marvel. So like rather, how Bugs Bunny has Acme, Marvel has WHIH as their news media source. Would I recommend it? Strongly recommend it, especially if you want to carry on joining seasons 1 and 2 with Marvel's Phase 1 and Phase 2. This is still part of Phase 2. It's lightly connected. I recommend watching this, yes, because Joss Whedon was both the creator and head writer for season 2. It was mostly to the showrunners, which was Jed Whedon, Josh's brother, and Marissa, I believe it's pronounced Tensharon, who is Jed's wife. They are the showrunners for the entire series of S.H.I.E.L.D., and they made sure that these little nuggets were always woven into the story leading into the MCU, especially for Phase 1 and Phase 2. Once you get to Phase 3, it kind of drifts off because Josh was pretty much tired of doing MCU films. He had like a two-year gap between films and plus S.H.I.E.L.D., so I think he was exhausted, and they gave it to the directors, the Russo brothers, and McFeely and Marcus, who were the writers, to do Civil War and went out to do Infinity War and Endgame. So this is the time where they focused heavily on getting the Whedon-verse, if you will, together with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the MCU. And the only other MCU that actually debuted at this time was only Guardians of the Galaxy. That's an Outer World story, so they could go from Season 1's finale and carry on with the Season 2 storyline until Episode 19, which was the debut of Age of Ultron. They can keep with the story without necessarily having to obligate to tell connective tissues with other episodes or other films of the MCU in terms of time frame. And that's what I like about Disney and Marvel. And why there's this kind of delay for 2021, 2020. They have to release the films in a certain order because they connect in a certain way. In that sense, you kind of really appreciate the landscape that is Marvel. It's very three-dimensional, like, whereas kind of like Linklater, he did like Boyhood, of seeing a person grow from beginning to end. This is like a full process, but now you also having almost a three-dimensional landscape of everything. Like Marvel's Netflix of New York happening in conjunction with that. What's happening in New Orleans with Cloak and Dagger happening with that. You're having geographical locations happening in the time frame of certain said events and MCU events, which is quite exciting. Both in Sony with Spider-Man and with this. So it is exciting in that sense, because if you're looking at all these shows that came out around 2014, 2016, and where they kind of exist with the Battle of New York, till about the next 3 years that follow that, the Civil War, these are the little shows that exist in little kernels of pockets in the United States that took place during this time. And if you look at them carefully, you could probably kind of get an idea of when these shows existed and when these films transpired. So that's exciting too. So that's enough about that. On behalf of Evie and myself, I want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week. Take care.